Well, welcome everybody. We're delighted to have you with us this afternoon. This is the 10th of November of 2020, and it's the early afternoon, 3:30 p.m. I'm Don Snow. I'm down here in St. George, Utah, and Gerhard Roof, who's up in Orem, Utah, he's the host of the program, and he's the one that's doing the technical stuff for us, and we couldn't get along without him. Today's discussion is on the Utah Digital Newspapers website, and you'll find is there. If you've ever lived in Utah or had a relative in Utah or maybe even visited in Utah, you're
You're
probably listed
probably
in
listed
some
in some
newspaper in there.
newspaper in there.
It's just
It just
phenomenal how many are in there. Now, the notes for the class are down there. They're listed at the bottom. They're online on my website, and we'll look at those notes here in a minute. And Gerhard usually puts a PDF of those notes in the chat box, or a link to how to get to them in the chat box in the Zoom program here in a minute. Okay, let's give you an overview of what those notes are, and so that you can see what's there and how to use them. And then we'll come back and refer to them later, so that we don't have to do all the details of them now. That's the URL, UVTAGG. That's Utah Valley Technology and Genealogy Group.org/classes/Dons, and then Dons hyphens classes .html. Now on there are all my notes for the past classes and for the future classes and so on, plus a bunch of other stuff. And there's links on there to videos of the recent classes that we've had. Gerhard records these. This one is being recorded and will be posted on Facebook, and you'll be able to watch them there. We're doing this live now on Zoom, but it's also going out on Facebook here in a couple of minutes. Okay, now let me go back. Let's see. Let me go back one step here and actually show you what the notes look like, so that you'll be able to see what they are. I'm going to switch over here. Okay, now I've switched on my screen, and what you should be seeing is the browser, my browser. It's a Chrome browser with the link to that page, Don's Notes class notes page. By the way, these are all completely searchable. If you ever want to know where stuff is, there's a way to search there right in the middle where it says to search, Google search these, click there. There's a way you can search on the website. The first part up here is a bunch of other sorts of things, my Freeware Corner articles and all sorts of other stuff. And then here's the classes coming up, and here's the one for today, this item number 1 down here. The Utah Digital Newspapers website. That's the one we'll be dealing with 2 weeks from, well, it's the fourth Tuesday in November. We'll be talking about the Internet Archive and the Wayback Machine, which is a wonderful device about old websites and so on. And then in December, we'll talk about the Wolfram Alpha website on there. Here's past classes and all the notes for the past classes from before. Now I'm going to I'm going to hold down my control key while I click. I'm going to click on the Utah Digital Newspapers website. And so there it is right there. This is the notes for today's class. Now let's take a minute and actually go through. I'm going to highlight it here so that you can see what I'm talking about. This is the abstract for it. I won't read it completely, but I'll talk about it. The Utah Digital Newspapers website. This is sponsored by, it's run by the University of Utah, the Marriott Library there. That's the big library that J. Willard Marriott donated the money for to the University of Utah. It consists of scans of newspapers published in the state of Utah. And so they got the project of at the University of Utah, the Marriott Library, of scanning all the papers. Their goal is to scan every newspaper, every issue of every newspaper ever published in the state of Utah. And they've got already about, I think it's 3.5 million pages scanned there now. And we'll show you how to find what they've got and how to search it. It's free, and they're always looking for donations. But they got some grants from national agencies and other places. But it's completely searchable, so you don't have to know what paper to look in. You type in the name of the person or the location or your own name, and see what happened, what happens, and you'll find if you've ever lived in the state of Utah, or if you've got relatives, it's almost a sure bet that you're in there somewhere and that they are listed. And so they got lots of people, lots of names on here. Now, the small town papers, they're the ones that have loads of news in them, because in the small towns, most of you are aware that it's big news when somebody comes to visit, or when somebody gets married, or when there's a funeral, and they talk about, you know, who came for the funeral and all this sort of thing. So you find a lot of good stuff in there. Other states probably have similar programs, but I'm not sure whether they have the same amount of data that that Utah does. I'm sure some do. Now, on the going down through the notes, there's a welcome and the introduction. There's my email address if you need to get in touch with me. I'm a snowbird between Provo and St. George, but I'm down here in St. George a good share of the time now because of the COVID problem. There's the problem for today, item 4. The problem for today is, what is the Utah Digital Newspapers, the website, and how do you use it? Now, here's a little bit about newspapers themselves. They began in the U.S. in the 1600s. I think it was 1690, as I recall, the first newspaper. And they're public records. So they can be cited freely, and you don't need to worry about please turn off your microphone however you're talking. They're public records, unlike other vital records. You know, the current vital records are private records, and in some cases you can't even get to them yourself unless it's your personal one. But these are all public records, so anything that's in a newspaper is public. Besides the news articles, names occur in all kinds of other places in the newspapers. And besides the vital records, obituaries, classified ads, legal notices, and just lots of other places. There's a link on item 8 that's a compilation. It's only one of many links, but this is a particularly good one that will give you links to other digital newspapers for other states in the U.S. So what we're doing for Utah, you can do for any other state, most other states as well. The Utah Digital Newspapers website, here's the information about it. There's the actual, right there where I'm circling around, and you can see my big red dot with my, around my cursor. That's the website. We'll come back and look at that here in a minute, and the information about it. There's information here that we'll be talking about. We're going to go through some of this stuff in detail, but looking at it online, so we'll actually see it online. Then here's some ideas about searching and some ways to search for information, and then some ideas about downloading the articles, and suggestions about item 20 is how you label the article so you can find it, and then some conclusions. And of course, since we're on 30-minute interval now, we're trying to get through as much as we can in a shorter time period, which is probably good for all of us. Now, if you click on the link to the digital newspapers, this is what the main web page looks like. Now, let me go back for just a minute, back to our PowerPoint. And there's the information about newspapers, that most of that we just talked about. But and here's what's going on with the Utah Digital Newspapers as to what they've got and how they're searchable now, and what their goal is, and that it's free. And right there is the URL for the digital newspapers, the Utah Digital Newspapers. Now, notice that it doesn't say anything about Utah in there. These guys started early enough that they were able to pick digitalnewspapers.org as the URL. So that's just the Utah ones. So any other state, they got to use a different one now, because this was probably one of the first ones, I guess, and that's the URL that they picked for it. So when you click on it, and it's easy to remember, digitalnewspapers.org, but it's easy to search for it on Google too, to find, just type in Utah Digital Newspapers or Utah Newspapers, and it'll come up right near the top itself. Now, we're going to be looking at some examples and demos of that by actually going to that website. And that's the website that I just went to a minute ago. Let's go back and show you that website, which was Where is it? It was this one right there. This is the website, the digitalnewspapers.org. That's only the Utah digital ones. It's no other state, but they got the URL without even putting Utah on there. So Utah Digital Newspapers. And here's some information at the top we'll take a look at. Let's just scroll down here for a minute so you can see what's on here. On this day, what is it, the 10th of November, there's an example of a newspaper from the 10th of November of 1870, the Utah Reporter. I don't think I'd ever even heard of that newspaper, but that looks like the front page of that issue of in 1870. That's what, 150 years ago on there. I'm scrolling down more on the web page. Over here on the left side, recent additions. These are some of the things they've just recently posted. There's a Seagull, I've never even heard of what that is, don't know. Park Record, that's up in Wasatch County. Gunnison Valley, etc. Paiute something or other. Dixie State University Student Newspapers, 1916 to 2019. That's over 100 years, 103 years of the Dixie State University student newspaper. That's right here in St. George. And my dad graduated in the first class in 1916, so he's in there. So that's one that, and it's only recently that they got that done. Here's the Southern Utah University student newspapers from 1982 to 2017. Now, Steve Heath, who's with us today and watching this, taught math there. I've known Steve for 50 years because we both taught math. And Steve, you're undoubtedly mentioned in that one a lot of places and a lot of things going on. The Beaver County News, the Brigham Young University School student newspaper from 1940 to 1968. Now, that's not complete yet. They're still working on it, I'm sure, but there's at least, 20-something years of information. If you or somebody, one of your relatives or one of your kids went to BYU in that time period, they're probably listed in there. Provo Daily Herald, Vernal Express, etc. Here's in the news. Now, look at some of these other things over here in the center. 100 years of the University of Utah Daily Chronicle. I graduated from the U. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, but after on a mission and Navy, it was Korean War days. I came up to BYU for 1 year and then went to the U and graduated from the U before going back to California to Stanford for graduate school. But there's the U, 100 years of the Daily Chronicle. Hill Air Force Base. Look at all this stuff that they've got. All these are different sorts of things that they've been working on, and that's recently things that they've got. We'll show you how to search for all of these to find them in here in just a second. All right, now take a look at. Oh, and by the way, anytime you're in any place in the website, if you want to get back to the home page here, you can always click on this Utah Digital Newspapers thing. That brings you back to this home page. Some places it says home page, but it'll take you right back if you click on that. Okay, let's go over here to paper scan. Notice that that's the second item here across the top. I'm going to click on that, paper scanned. Now, what we have scanned so far. Now, on the left side, you see there's Beaver. These are counties. Beaver County. There's Beaver County. Here's Bear River. Box Elder County. Bear River's in that. Cache County, and so on, and on down the line. Now, I'll give you a caveat to be careful of on those counties here in a minute. Look at these boxes over to the right. It says here 1850 to 1960 to 1860. These are 10-year intervals. 1860 to 1870, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, and so on. Once you get over here to the right, now to get past that, you wonder, well, don't they go any later than that? The way you get over there is you use the arrow keys on your keyboard. I haven't figured out any other way to do that. I thought you could do it with the mouse or something, but I haven't been able to find it. But with the arrow key, I'm clicking the right arrow key on my keyboard, And so it's moving it over. So the 10-year intervals are increasing, and it goes right up to, I'm going to go clear over to the right end of it, right up to 2020. So the last 10-year block here is 2010 to 2020. Now the black blocks in here is what part of that time period, that particular 10-year interval, they've got already scanned. In this case, the first one here is Beaver County News. And it goes up to, it looks like it goes up, it looks like to 1990. It looks like it's just a shade into 19 to 19, maybe 1991, but probably not even that far. So that would, but the next one down, the Beaver Press, goes clear up to 2000. Well, it looks like it's about 2008, because it's about maybe a couple of years less than 2010 on there. So you can tell what they've got scanned on here, and you can roll this thing down. But notice that each county doesn't, it only scans to the right by the county. So now the next county down here, Box Elder County, it's back to 1850. So you see, even though we moved by the arrow keys, we moved the top one up, the rest of the counties aren't down. Let's go down here to another county. Oh, there's Carbon County. That's one that Steve Heath was interested in, the Carbon County records and so on, all the papers. But notice in there, Steve, that the SUU student newspaper isn't in well, let's see, Iron County, not Carbon County. Sorry, yeah, Iron County. I'm sorry. He taught at Cedar City, not out of Price. Let's go on down and find Iron County. You got to be careful of these counties, because there's Iron County, the Iron County News, the Iron County Record, and the Parowan Times are listed in here. This bar down below here, that bar will also slide stuff back and forth. So you can move that bar back and forth, and there's one of those at the bottom of each of the counties. So you can move it over that way. There's just no way you can see the whole thing at once, though. They used to have a way you can show the whole thing at once, but you can't anymore. That isn't illustrating what I wanted to show. What I want to tell you about on the be careful of the counties is the information is not completely accurate by county. Let me go back up here to Box Elder County, and I'll show you why, what I mean. Where was Box Elder? There's Box Elder County. Look, here's Brigham Young University student newspaper listed in Box Elder County. I haven't the foggiest idea why it's in there. The SUU newspaper was listed in, I've forgotten which county it's in. It's in the wrong county anyway. Bunches of stuff. So don't count on the counties. Some of them are right, but some of them are wrong. But if you use just on your, if you're searching for one, you can always use on your keyboard search, hold down the control key and then hit F. Control F, and it opens up that thing up at the top. And so then if you want to look for Southern University, like if you were looking for Southern University, well, I typed in Southern, and it says that occurred in 3 different places. This is the first one out of 3. So, and then click on there, there's the second one. There's Southern University, Southern University student newspaper. What county is that listed in? That's listed in Beaver County. That should be Iron County. But anyway, there's the date. You can see the bar, the black bar. It's 1982 up to around 2000, looks like around 2006 or something like that on there. Now, on each of these newspapers, if you want to know more details, like let me click over here on this, where there's a title, that's actually a link. If you click on that, one way to get it is, I just clicked on that link. Here's the information about the Southern Utah University student newspapers. There's the time period they've got up to 2017. I'm not sure they've got them all in here yet, though. Maybe they have. All text in the Southern, you can search in all text, or you can search in, and they've got some things flagged it looks to me like what they've done in the flagging is if there's a birth record, even though it's not a list of the births in the record, if they've picked up a birth, they flagged it as birth, and so you can look at births or marriages and deaths, which of course is mainly what a lot of things we're interested in genealogy. So you can look at just those in the paper if you want to. You type in the name over here on the right and then click go. So if you know the newspaper, you can go to that newspaper and then click go on these things, or type in keywords over here and so on to see what's going on with it. It'll give you more information about it. Here's a way that you can browse. If you click on this thing, this big box over here on the left, it says browse all issues of this newspaper. So if you want to know what went on in that town or that city or university or whatever, you can click there and you can actually go through issue by issue on them. And so we got to that by the way we did it from here. Let me go back. We clicked on one of the names over here in this thing. You can also get to that by going up here to where it says browse up at the top. If you click browse, then here's a list of the counties. But again, because of the counties, because they don't all agree. But if you click on a county, let's take Salt Lake County, for example. There's Salt Lake County. Here are most of the newspapers that are in Salt Lake, but again, with some of the problems that are there, you can click on it to get it from there, so you can get the newspaper from that. Now let's. That's if you know the paper, etc. Okay, now let's go back up here to the top. I'm going to click on that thing so that we're back up here to the top. Now, suppose you don't know anything about what the newspaper is or where it might be. What do you do? Well, right here in the center, it says search all newspapers. I'm going to search in here. You can see I searched in there for Eldon Snow. That's my dad. And I always use, of course, my own illustrations. So I'm going to type Eldon Snow. Now, if I just notice there's no quotation marks, I'm just searching for Eldon Snow. Now I click on the magnifying glass and see what comes up. This is items 1 through 25 of 14,694 items. Now that's not doable. What it's picked up is every instance of Eldon and Snow. And when you got a name like Snow, it could be snowstorm, it could be we're expecting snow, or we had the snow piled up 6 feet deep. You get all kinds of problems. One of Diane's ancestors, my wife's ancestors, was May. And when you search for May, of course, you get all the month of May as well. So the way around that is you go back up here to the name, and instead of just searching for Eldon Snow you put quotation marks on it. Without quotation marks, you get all those. But when you put quotation marks around it, Eldon Snow in quotes, now watch what happens. It cut that to 67. So now it's looking for just expressions with Eldon Snow. Now, as you scroll down through here, you'll see what these different newspapers are. Washington County News. That's from here. Dad was actually born down in Bunkerville, Nevada, which is across the river from Mesquite. But he was raised mostly right here in St. George. And so the Washington County Times has got stuff in about him. 1926, he was after the First World War, he went back down to Los Angeles to USC to go to dental school, and I guess he just graduated in that. So here's an article. Let me click on that article and see what comes up. There's the article. Now you can hardly read it. Let me see if I can make it a little bit larger. I'm holding down the mouse wheel of the control and rolling my mouse wheel. It says Mr. and Mrs. Eldon, that's my mom and dad, Mr. and Mrs. Eldon Snow visited the former's mother, Mrs. George Condy, that's my grandma. Her name was Ann Stafford. She married Erastus Beeman Snow, son of the apostle. And then he died. And that was my dad's dad. And then she married George Condy, had a couple of more kids, and then he died. And she was a widow most of her life. But we called her Grandma Condy because that's when we come up here to St. George to visit. That's who she was. And so here's mom and dad coming up here. This is 1926 that mom and dad came up here, visited her yesterday. So this is written, notice up here, there's the date of the newspaper, 1926, 0708. So that's July 8th. So on July 7th, my dad and mom came here to St. George and visited. They weren't living here, they were living in Los Angeles, but they came to visit Grandma Condi en route from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City. I have no idea why they were going up there. That's about the time Dad graduated from dental school with his dental degree. So maybe they were just celebrating his graduation and on a trip up to Salt Lake, or maybe they were going on up to Idaho. Mom was from Idaho Falls, she was from Teton. That picked up. See, I saw this yesterday for the first time. I didn't know this was in the newspaper. So they've got new stuff coming up all the time on these things. So even if you've searched once, you need to go back and do it again. Here's all these other newspapers in here. How's our time going? Oh boy, the time goes fast in half an hour. Honor for Dixie Boys, about the military. Dad was over in France and Germany in the First World War. Arrives in France. There's one from the Salt Lake Tribune in 1917 when Dad was in the Army, and that's the time they got to France and Germany. Local news. Eldon Snow goes to a French. Some of you have heard me tell this story about Dad going before he came back, before he was discharged from the Army. He went to the Sorbonne University in Paris. They allowed some of the soldiers to go to some of the universities over there, and Dad applied and went to the Sorbonne. And I remember Dad saying that, but I thought I'm never going to be able to document that. And here it is. Dad wrote a letter back to his mom, my grandma. She showed it to the editor of the Washington County News, and he printed the whole thing. And there is the whole letter in the newspaper. And so it tells what classes Dad took and how he applied and all. I haven't even gone through all these things. I need to go through and download them all. But there are just so many things. There's one, I remember this one, a theater group. This is 1910. So Dad was about 18 years old. He was in this play that was put on here in St. George. The review said there was nothing wrong with that play, that more rehearsal wouldn't have helped. And anyway, you type in your own name in here or some of your ancestors, you'll find all kinds of good stuff. And then you can download these things by clicking on it, and you can download the whole thing. Now, I recommend that you download the page if you can. In some cases, I haven't been able to find out how to do that, to download the page, only the article. But if you can get the whole page, then it'll help. I found a couple of things yesterday that I didn't know were there. Let me show you. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do a search here, because I rather than look for it on there, I'm going to actually search for it on because I downloaded it already. About me. Let's see, it was 1998, and it was a Provo paper, the news. There it is. Look at that. I didn't even know this was in there. I probably knew it 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. Look at this is the Provo Herald Lifestyles paper. It was on the date of Sunday, March 1st of 1998. There's me sitting at a computer. That's my office at BYU. The whole thing is about, and look, there's my name, but it didn't pick up my name, but it picked up, I searched for UVPAF users group, the old users group. There's an article about us in the paper. And there's the whole thing on the article. I probably knew that was there before, but I'd completely forgotten about it and just came across that yesterday. So do take time to look through some of the stuff. Whoops, I didn't mean to close all that. I think I closed the wrong thing. Yeah, well, okay, we're back to examples and demos, but our time is just about up anyway. So there's just lots of good things that you can do with this stuff. Now, this is a summary as to what we talked about, and we'll have a minute for questions here. We looked at the Utah Digital Newspapers website. And if you've ever lived in the state or went to school in the state or any of your kids or relatives did, type their names in, it's almost a sure bet that you're going to find something on them. And their goal of this website is to get all these newspapers done. And they've got millions on there now. And some of the small town papers are complete. The small town papers are just loaded with stuff, and it's completely free. Now, do any of you have any questions that you'd like to ask before we quit?
Don, you remember Steve had a question early on that you were going to demonstrate
About the website?
about something that he was interested in, a particular newspaper. I forget which
Oh, that
one.
was the student. Yeah, that was the SUU student newspaper. Yeah, that we showed where that was, Steve. You can go through those and see, because type in your name, Steve Heath, and but try different combinations, Steve and Stephen and Heath, comma Steve, with quotation. Well, Heath is not so bad. That's not one that's gonna come up too often. So maybe Heath is enough to pick up things in there. But you'll find a lot of stuff in there. Undoubtedly, you're mentioned in there where you did something or another besides the math stuff. There's probably in there for church stuff or activities or something else. Anything else? Well, I hope that you have the opportunity to take time to go through this. With our half-hour classes here, you've probably got another half hour that you might have time right now to actually go through and try something, and just give it a whirl, because you'll just find, almost guaranteed, you'll find a bunch of stuff in there. And like I've said many times, we're never going to live long enough to download all this stuff on our own lives, much less our ancestors later on. Anyway,
for those of you watching, Don, who are in Zoom, that document that he's referring to is in the chat. If you want to open up the chat and click on the download button underneath it, you'll have the document that you can click on the links easily. For those of you watching on Facebook, you've got the link to the website page where that is, where you can click on the links too. By the way, Don, we have, I asked people on Facebook where they were watching from. We had one respond with Ohio.
Oh, wonderful. Great.
There are 6 people watching on Facebook right now, in addition to the 10 that are here on Zoom.
Wonderful. Well, we're finding out that more people watch on Facebook later than do live on these classes, because they've been recorded and they're available. And these will be on, Gerhard leaves them on there for, at least a month afterwards on Facebook. And you'll find the link to that on my notes as to actually how to get to where all these are stored. Okay, that's the story. Thanks for watching, all of you. I'm going to click to...
Thank you, Don.
Okay, I'm going to click to turn this off, stop sharing, and that's it.